Welcome back to the Crooked Spine Show. Why are we quitters? Why are our friends quitters? We want to feel stronger, look good, and lose weight, but we don't want to do the work to get there because we lose the motivation. Why does this happen to us every year? This episode 2 with Derek, Life Performance Enhancement, we learn specific steps his clients do to find their personal purpose that affects their heart, mind, body, and or spirit. When you find your perseverance, how to get over this overall aspect of being sore, tired, not wanting to go on, then you start to perform the strength formulas, the repetitions that Derek talks about in this last part of this video without giving up on yourselves, my friends. So learn this talk, go over it overall too, a couple times maybe if you need to. Find your why. Connect with Derek in this. The show notes has the overall ways to connect with Derek, along with Instagram and Facebook and phone number, along with the video of this overall podcast and connections on Apple iTunes, along with previous podcasts too. All right, join my friends. Again, the highlights of this overall show notes, you can go there too on their post. That one, look at it and see. But find your why, my friends. Don't give up this year. Find your best and be your best. Talk to you soon. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Should be working. Again, I'm Dr. Tony. This is Derek Woolner's Life Performance Enhancement, blah. This is episode 2 for 2022. We're talking about setting life goals. And this is part 2 in the sense where how do we kind of break things down now on how to, okay, if we're going to set goals, how do we achieve them? How do we make sure we get there by having the base, we want to call it steps, done first, which Derek will talk about in his outline here to make sure we understand how to maintain that and get through it. So if we fall down, we fall back. Okay, where's my baseline? How to get back there again too? So you have things written down on your phone, whatever it is too. Derek will talk about that. So Derek, take it over.
Cool, right on. Thanks as always for having me, Dr. Tony. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody. I'm going to hop right into it today because I know sometimes, I get long-winded up here. One of the things I wanted to state was, as I mentioned in our previous showing, was that where a lot of people kind of make mistakes, in my opinion, as being a coach for 18 years now, working with fitness, sport performance athletes, and as well as doing rehabilitation for people, is in their attention to detail when setting a goal. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is it's going to be rather deep in, I think, in a lot of people's opinions, but what it really does is it's going to help all of you who are going to apply this to your life, whatever your occupation is, or however it is you want to use this. It can be really used to achieve any goal, in my opinion. I want to try to get to the heart of the matter, so to speak. Okay, so we're just going to start into it today. What I did was we're going to title this today goal achievement, and like Tony said, this is kind of episode 2, so we're expanding upon what I talked about previously, which was more surface. So if you guys can think of, we're building a house, okay, and right now we are building, we're laying per se, this way, is this okay? Yep, we're laying per se the foundation that this house is going to be built upon. And the first thing you have to do is really identify what needs to be used to build the foundation, okay? So what we're going to first focus on here is, again, identifying the primary source of your motivation. So there's 3 sources that your motivation can come from, generally speaking, in regards to this presentation. Different people are going to have different opinions regardless, or pertaining to your background or whatever that is, but for today, these are the 3 we're going to choose from, okay? Number 1 is your source, okay, can come from something greater than yourself. An example of this would be God, okay? Number 2 would be your source of your primary source of your motivation could come from yourself, okay? Where in essence you would be like your own God, okay? Now we're going to have different opinions on that based on your religious background, whether you are religious or not, and where you are as far as your belief in God or whatnot. But this is an example pertaining to what A is as far as how you would perceive yourself, okay? Number 3 would be another source that is not God or yourself, okay? So wherever you believe that could come from. So just to recap, it's something greater than yourself, or a source that is not yourself, or something greater than yourself, which I use an example of being God, okay? After you have identified your source, which is very key, you're going to need to now evaluate or take an inventory like I talked about in the first episode. Just to recap briefly, I talked about taking a life inventory, which is like what I ask all the clients to do when they first begin the nutritional side of their program. This allows me to see exactly what it is that they're doing with their time, and quite possibly, like the majority of them, what they believe what they're doing with their time and what they're actually doing with their time is two different things. I then ask them to take a nutritional inventory where they write down what it is that they're ingesting into their body from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed, the times they do that, and just a brief description of the food that they're choosing to put in there. That kind of gives me and them a black and white scenario of what is not possibly going on, but what is actually going on. Okay, you're going to need to do that exact same thing pertaining to what is being propelled within you to achieve this. So this is different from the source. The source creates, okay, the goal, okay, and then you're then going to be propelled to achieve that. Now, there's 4 areas that that you're going to experience this in. Sometimes the experiential aspect of your propellism per se is in your heart. Okay, it's only in one area. It could just be in your mind. It could just be in your body. It could just be in your spirit. It also could collectively happen in all 4 of those simultaneously. It also could occur in a linear fashion, meaning that this can occur in your heart first, in your mind second, in your body third, in your spirit fourth. It could occur in your spirit first, your heart second, your mind third, and your body fourth. It depends on the season of life that you're in per se, and what it is that you're pursuing, in my opinion, dictates when all this occurs. Okay?
So just to clarify,
yeah,
you're using the source, and then from the source, once you get the source from up here, then at that point you bring it down here and you take inventory of that source.
Yeah, you want to. Well, you want to. After you've identified the source, you need to evaluate and take inventory of what is being propelled within you. Okay. So you're going. So these are the things, the tools, Doc, that you're going to use to take the inventory of yourself. Does that make good?
Yeah.
Do you understand any of that?
Now, for the inventory of, for example, the heart would be okay. How does it affect you emotionally? Is that correct?
Yeah, okay. So you want the heart, the mind, the body, and spirit is different for each person. Yeah. The heart. See, some people believe that the heart and the spirit are one. Okay. Yeah. Other people are going to believe, and the mind and the body is always separate from each one of those. Some people they believe that these are separate. Okay, where the source is going to affect each one of these separately, and then it will propel you in the direction that you need to go. Yeah, the heart generally in our culture, okay, especially in America, right, is that this is pertaining to your emotions. The heart is, but the cause of the emotion can come from the heart first. But it also, the emotion felt can come from a thought, which essentially would be from the mind. And that's where you get into theological and psychological debates and stuff like that, whether a person being is a dichotomy or trichotomy. What makes us up, right?
Let's keep it simple.
I know that, right? That's seminary stuff, okay?
But you're welcome. That's what I clarified.
That's cool. So there's a differentiation here. This is why I wrote 2A and 2B, because essentially here we are one in the same here, okay? There's a difference between what is being propelled within you, and there's also what are you being propelled to do, okay? So you need to evaluate what is being propelled within your heart, what is being propelled within your mind, what is being propelled within your body, what is being propelled within your spirit, if you believe there is such a thing as a spirit, right? That's a personal belief. You also need to take inventory of what is being propelled, what are you being, propelled to do inside of your heart, what are you being propelled to do inside of your mind, and what are you being propelled to do inside of your body and your spirit. Okay, so we can take this into far greater detail, and I will continue to expand upon this each week. But for today, if you think like we are building a house, and this house is your goal, okay, which a lot of people have used an analogy. This part down here that your house is built upon is the foundation. Okay, and I believe that this is the first, at this point in time, okay, and again, for the sake of this presentation, these are the first 2 steps that you take to begin building your foundation. And it's like when I talk to a lot of the young kids, you know, I work with a lot of athletes that are involved, that the movement of their sports are involved in rotation, and the shoulder joint. So I work with a lot of baseball players, softball players, volleyball players, tennis players, and golfers, okay? I've just spent the majority of my professional career really understanding how the body kinetically transfers movement through rotation, quarterbacks and football. When I was a strength coach at Azusa Pacific University, I would do the shoulder strengthening programs for the quarterback and give them exercises to do to help in their energy transfer, which is like a fancy way of saying produce more power and throw the ball further and more. And then the quarterback coach would work on their skill and their accuracy and stuff like that.
They get a scholarship.
Sure, yeah. If you're trying to get the scholarship, that's big time. Yes. So the reasoning again why we go through this process, and there's 2A and 2B, is this: they can be switched. So after you've identified your source, the source of your motivation may propel you to what it is you're supposed to, may bring an identifying to what it is, an identification, excuse me, to what it is you are being propelled to do first, and then what it is being propelled within you second. It may be like, you know what, I really feel like I need to make more money, right? Big deal. Everybody always wants to get richer, okay? And so you have said to yourself, you know what, I've never really made what I consider to be a lot of money, right? Or I've never really considered myself to be that fast when I'm training an athlete. Or a lot of the baseball guys, you know, I'm just not throwing fast enough to get to the level I want to get to in college when I'm working with the high school guys, or when I'm working with the college guys. And they're like, I need 3 more miles an hour, okay, and I'll get drafted. Or if I can get 3 more miles an hour, my draft status will go up higher and I'll get a greater signing bonus, okay? Those are kind of the levels that they work from. This can occur in either one of those things. It could be, it's not always going to be internal. I'm not just going to wake up from in the middle of the night and say, oh, you know, I just have this internal burning desire to be better at using my mind, okay? And then all of a sudden, how are you going to be propelled to do that? Well, then I'm going to look more about understanding more about the brain and learning more about how my learning style and stuff like that. I mean, that's just like an example for that. Okay. Do you have anything to add to any of that, Tony?
Nope, you're good.
Yeah. So, again, these are the first couple steps you can take to building your foundation. Now, in the last episode, after I talked about the steps that people take to achieving a goal, I wanted to also integrate the physical side of things, because obviously that's what I do a lot of every single day, okay? So one of them I talked about was just getting stronger, and I showed you guys a really cool example of how to use a suspension training device that's really popular in the fitness and sports performance worlds, and rehab as well, which is the TRX things, all right? Or the old school gymnastics rings, whichever ones you want to use. And that allows you to use just your body weight against gravity to move your body in different patterns of movement against different planes, which we'll talk about briefly here today, to become stronger. Well, today what I wanted to do is give you guys like an actual formula, so more of like the science behind it, meaning the numbers per se that you kind of use, that strength coaches like myself use to enhance the strength of a person, okay? Let me go here. Briefly before we go, well, you know, I'll do that in the recap, Tony. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, so when talking about strength enhancing formulas, okay, there's many factors that have influence on your capability, or excuse me, on your strength capabilities, okay? We're going to talk about these factors in greater detail in the next discussion. Today, I want to talk about nervous system stimulation, okay? And what that means is, let's use a physical example of that. Last time I used the hand. Most clients, when they come in to see me, irregardless of their level or their goal, their brain is not hardwired per se to their body to the degree that it has the capability of experiencing. Okay, and the example I use for that is the hand. Let's say someone comes in, they have knee pain. They have a lot of knee pain in the anterior part of the knee, the front part of the knee, and the patella tendon, like a lot of people have. Doc, I know you deal with that all the time in your profession. So let's say their brain, the hip complex, complex isn't really wired enough, and because of that, the stability of the leg doesn't allow for proper tracking of the knee. Okay, and because that irritation is experienced in the tendon. Well, what you need to do, and what I'm referring to when I talk about, get my notes here, I apologize, is your nervous system stimulation. Is this hip complex, or my hand, let's say, your body currently can only use 2 fingers of your hip. And the reason that the knee is experiencing, the reason it is experiencing pain, and the reason that people are not as strong as they could be, or they're not increasing their strength as much as they could be, is because their brain doesn't know how to use the muscles within the movement well enough. Currently, it only knows how to use just these 2 fingers. It would be like you having a hand and only using 2 fingers, these 2 fingers, to do everything. What I do is hardwire the brain and teach it how to use 3 fingers, 4 fingers, and then essentially 5 fingers, okay? This is part of the strength training process, to what I just referred to as nervous system stimulation. A lot of people in our culture believe that strength enhancement involves increasing your muscular size, and it can, but it doesn't have to. You don't have to increase a muscle size to increase its strength. You can merely just increase its efficiency, which would be like this example. Here's your brain up here. Here's your muscles that you want to use. You just need to get the brain better at sending signals to the muscles so it can collectively use all of them together with greater efficiency. When efficiency is increased, movement pattern quality increases, and then your body has a greater capacity to produce more force. Okay, that is when your strength will increase. Now, if you're like, let's say you are, and I'm 40 years old, okay? So I don't want this to be received as the wrong way, but let's say you're 50 or older, okay? I took a continuing educational course that was strictly based on strength training after 50, the human body, okay? And you're like, this doesn't pertain to me. I just want to, feel a little better, lose some weight, and, get a little stronger, right? Well, it has everything to do with you. The reason that you're beginning to have aches and pains, and you're like, oh, I just can't swing the golf club like I used to, or my knees start aching on mile 2 instead of me being able to run 4 miles or no problem anymore. Okay, I hear that every single week in my job when a new client comes in and we go through their consultation and we discuss what it is they're wanting to achieve. Most of them talk about things they want to eliminate in their life, which is usually pain and irritation. Okay, and this is where I'm so thankful that my knowledge of the nervous system is vast, and I can eliminate pain in every single client's body and get them a foundation that allows me to then build up their quality of movement and thus their quality of physical life. Okay, so there are different strength enhancing formulas. Again, it all pertains down to your nervous system, and that's not to say, one quick side note, that increasing muscular size does not improve your strength, because it most definitely does, because you just created more muscle for your brain to use. But if you increase muscle size and don't increase your brain's ability to use this newfound muscle through movement patterns, okay, multiple movement patterns, then your quality of life overall will not enhance to the level that it could be. In one circle, if we had a big circle here, your quality of life, okay, would be improved this much instead of this much if you improve the overall quality of the movement that your new muscle can use within different patterns.
So almost the movement is more important than the actual coordination, than the actual muscle growth you talked about being more efficient.
To recap what Doc said. Doc said it's better to, you tell me if I'm wrong, Doc. It's better to have greater quality of movement than it is to have a bunch of muscle. For general life health, that's true.
Injury-free.
Yeah. For athletic performance, that's different. Yeah. And for rehabilitation, you may need to increase the size of a muscle so that its production and its functionality and its quality is higher to eliminate pain and injury. That's part of the job, okay? But generally speaking, your body should be, you should have a strong foundation of functional movement first before you start overloading different sections of it with additional mass. Okay, it will only make your movement patterns inefficient, and that's when stress to different joints becomes over the top for the body to handle, and then irritation occurs, usually in tendons, and that's when inflammation occurs, and then the movement of the joint decreases in its quality, and then thereafter everything else through the kinetic chain begins to,
break down.
Begins to break down, and to put it in layman's terms, your movements suck. Okay, so you got to fix them. All right. So let's move on. I know that was a very kinesthetic kind of explanation, but you have to understand the importance of quality over quantity first.
Huge.
Yeah,
huge.
And that requires, for most people where they hate that, is it requires patience. So as far as your character, when you're trying to improve the physical part of yourself, all the other things come into play, especially your psyche. Okay, every day, I coach people's minds, whether they're general fitness athletes or especially in rehab when they are dealing with pain and they are in agony and they're so irritated. Okay, irritation is a part of our life, and the way that you beat that with your mind is by overcoming it. But your perspective on your circumstances has to be progressive. If it's in the moment solely, then you'll get stuck there. But to move from the moment to where you're going, you need to be linear in your thoughts and progressive. Linear may mean like this. A lot of times in rehab, doc knows, man, things are going great 3 weeks, boom, right? Well, that's part of the process. Yep. Because when things go great and you have to progress, typically it requires a downfall and then a time of overcoming and then progression again. But see, if I started here, I still am up here where this is where I started.
And what I tell people, real quick, if I can borrow.
Yeah, you want to use the green one? Yeah.
Again, my artistic skills are very, very minimal, so I apologize. If I have someone go through a rehab program, okay, I want them to go. I don't want them just, for example, just to walk 10 minutes, and all of a sudden their 5 minutes are good. No, I want them to actually go from 10 minutes to 20 minutes, and that increased time may cause some pain. Okay, I'm okay with that because that tells me, okay, where their limit is right now. Can we improve their health, say, for example, more stretching, more working out, more individual exercises, so now their walking goes from 20 and maybe drop down to 10 again, and then back from 10, now back up to 30. Okay, and at that point, they made it a roadblock. At that point, man, now my ankle hurts, my foot hurts. Perfect. So we drop down, say, 20 again, and we're back up to 40. Okay, so that average range of improvement has to occur because you're adding more things in to make the body better. Maybe more endurance, more time to work out, some more reps, more weight, to make the body improve, make your body improve by going through, I want to call it, feeling comfortable, maybe a little sore, maybe a little injured to get to the next step. If we work out there, because then I was off for about 3 or 4 weeks from working out because I was sick. At that point, now that I'm back, at that point, it may take me 4 to 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks to get back to my 100%.
Yeah, you never know how the body's going to respond after injury. But typically, if you were here and you get injured, the time it takes or the rate it takes to get back to where you were is less than it was the first time.
Oh, exactly.
Because the nervous system was already there once.
And you have the baseline. Okay, now I'm doing everything right here. Let me do everything right here, and then here, and here, and here. And it may take, for example, take a marathon runner. They may be fine with mile 1, 2, and 3, and also mile 5 comes around. They're like, now my feet hurt. Great, let's get better shoes.
Yeah, that's true.
Now my feet. Now I'm on mile 10. Now my legs hurt. Great, let's stretch out more. So we're adding more to routine to get that further distance for a marathoner. And then for you, maybe just like picking up groceries out of a trunk, picking up your kids. How do we make you go from lifting 10 pounds at home, 15, 20, 30? I had one kid I was lifting, was it Monday or Tuesday, and even though the kid was small, dense.
Oh yeah.
Like a bowl, just a metal bowling, like a piece of lead. I'm like,
yeah. Those guys usually they're very strong people.
Yes.
Yeah, they have high pain tolerance too.
Yeah.
So
I noticed that's my 2 cents, Derek. Is how do you get over the mindset? Okay, I'm stuck here. Yes, you are, but using someone like Derek, a coach, gets you from there to there to there to there because they can see the big picture. That when you're in pain, it's hard to see because we kind of have tunnel vision when we're in pain. The same.
That's
what
good.
I would do.
Yeah, that's good. Doc's good. The doc alluded back to what we went through here. How do you break through your barriers? Okay.
Yes.
Right, and that could be another topic of discussion would be breaking through barriers. But to move on, as far as to give you guys your, because I want to teach you how to get stronger. Okay, there's different ways you can do it, but essentially it comes down to science, right? There's many factors that have influence on your strength capabilities, which is what I'm going to talk about in our next discussion, the factors. But today I want to talk about different methods that can be used to increase your nervous system stimulation, and because of that, your strength, which is what I just went over. The first one is linear. Okay, there's another, we'll talk about various ones, okay? But today we're going to talk about linear, okay? Linear is very European in my line of work, okay? This is when you are in a continuous pursuit like this towards your goals, okay? And that is based on percentages per se and how you activate the nervous system, okay? In order to progress in a linear fashion, really in any strength, but linear progression is primarily based on this, right? You have to establish a foundation of your current strength. Now, typically, this is done through all the lifts that everybody knew that they had to do, like in high school, like your bench press capability, your squat capability, your power clean capability, then you go calisthenic-based things. Your ability to do bodyweight squats, push-ups, and pull-ups, inverted rows, those kind of things. But it also pertains to single joint movement, okay, like your biceps and your triceps, those kind of things. You can figure out how much weight you're capable of lifting. And from there, you can begin to improve that amount of weight. Establishing a foundation of strength is done by figuring out how much weight or how many repetitions, depending on whether you want to use body weight or an external load. An external load is something like a dumbbell or a barbell or rubber bands, something like that. Establishing your foundation of strength for a certain amount of repetitions if you're doing calisthenics based, which is body weight stuff. Or 1 to 3 repetitions when you're using an external load, okay, which would be like dumbbells, weights, or rubber bands, for example. There's many other alternative forms of external loads. Kettlebell is one that's very popular as well, okay? Your foundation of strength occurs through different planes of movement, number one. An example that would be like the lying barbell bench press, okay, or a pull-up. So one, you're moving the body through this plane of movement like this. The other one, you're going through your body in this plane of movement like this. There's different planes that our bodies move through. You have to establish a foundation of strength through each one of these planes. Another one is rotation. And then there's also lateral flexion in there as well, okay? This is when you move your body through different planes, it determines which muscles are recruited to perform the movement. So you need to identify, and this is where, you know, seeking out professional help is good by finding a strength conditioning specialist or a sports medicine specialist like myself, who, you know, went to school and knows this kind of stuff and has been doing. I've been doing this 18 years now, so I know what movements involve the muscles. Based on what it is that a person wants to do with their body, whether it's fitness, sport, performance, or rehab, I know how to position their body and what to have them do to have them achieve what it is that they want, as well as give them what it is that they need. Those two things, okay? So establishing which planes of movement you'd use. Once you've done those two things, there's a certain amount of challenge that your muscle has to go through. The muscle must be challenged using various intensities, okay? Intensities means in the math part of strength training, it's the percentage of your foundation of strength. So let's say you could 100% of your strength. To become stronger, we're going to do a certain amount of time, okay, at 68 to 71% of your foundation of strength. That will yield this rep range, okay? Now, we're going to move, okay. There's one more thing I keep forgetting. I apologize for that. After understanding that the muscle must be challenged in various intensities, it's important to understand that when you are beginning a strength training program, and I don't really care even if you're like a professional athlete, all right? If you have done things a certain way for a long time, or you haven't done anything ever, or you have you used to do something for a long time and now you don't, or let's say you're sporadic all over the place and you're doing all kinds of stuff at any different time. Whenever you want to establish a foundation of strength, okay, the safest way to do that, in my opinion, the safest way is using a linear-based program. That's the safest way. The reason is this: the adaptation of the stress that your connective tissue, that being ligament, tendon, and muscle, goes through is continuous and it's gradual. Okay, it's gradual. You'll see here that the rep ranges that you do, they gradually decrease when this increases. Okay? There's different opinions on this. There's also this should be applied in different ways based on the maturity of the muscle tissue that you're dealing with, thus the person's experience. And today we're using strength training as our example. That is a big determinant. If you're training a 23-year-old professional athlete, okay, and an 11-year-old boy or girl, you treat their body completely different, because you have to take into consideration the amount of repetitions and the stress that the 23-year-old professional athlete and the 11-year-old boy or girl, their tissue has gone under in the course of their lives. It's drastically different. So you introduce stress to their connective tissue differently. Okay, and that's very important. That's why linear is safest. I just want to make that known, because I don't know who's watching this, and if you're just getting started, that's where I recommend it. Or you're like, yo, I do CrossFit all the time or whatever, but I don't feel like I'm improving in my strength. You may want to begin here. Okay, if you're a CrossFitter, CrossFitters usually, you know, studying the science of CrossFit, it is predominantly a linear program. The WOD that they bust out there every week, it's linear. Okay, so it may be better for you to do non-linear, okay, and break away from CrossFit for a while. But we can talk about non-linear training another time. Okay, let's talk about strength enhancing formula, and we're going to talk about the repetition range. So this is kind of what you've all been waiting for. I gave you all the science. I gave you safety. Yes. I explained it, right? This is how you make your muscle stronger, right here. Okay. All right. So here you go. There are different ways that you can take your nervous system through. How should I state that? There's different paths you can take your nervous system through to enhance your strength. Okay. Today I am using what's known as progressive overload, a linear fashion progressive overload. Okay, that's how I'm going to state it. I don't know, a professor may state that differently, whatever. This is my opinion. What you want to do is you want to establish your foundation of strength. Let's use push-ups. Okay, for example, let's say the most push-ups that you could do was 15 push-ups. Okay, week 1, you're going to do, or excuse me, the most amount of push-ups you could do was 10 push-ups. Okay, in week 1, you're going to do 10 to 12 push-ups. Okay, between 30 and 50 total repetitions. This depends on your muscle maturity. Okay, so you may get one set of 10. Your next set, you may get this. What is a set? Okay, in week 1, if you have to achieve 30 to 50 push-ups, but you can only currently do 10 push-ups, you're going to have to take these repetitions and break them up into pieces, right? So when you're attempting to achieve this amount of reps in a single week's time, okay, you can't do them all at once. You have to break them up. These are what's referred to as sets. So you would do one set of 10 reps, okay? And then your next set, you may be able to get 9. And then your next set, you may be able to get 8, okay? So these would have to eventually equal this. The reason I wrote these numbers down is this. Science has showed that, generally speaking, within this amount of repetitions, if you accumulate between 30 and 50 reps, depending on your maturity, your strength will increase. Okay? Typically, the lesser the reps, the higher the intensity. When referring to increasing strength, the higher the intensity, the less amount of repetitions you need. Okay? So, you would do less repetitions in your sets, but you may need to do more sets in order to achieve this amount of repetitions. Does that make sense? Okay? Now, each week, like I said, it needs to be linear. You need to progressively challenge the intensity of the muscle. So each week you need to increase the amount of intensity. That's the amount of weight. If you're doing push-ups, like my example, okay, how you could do that is you can alter the body position so it's harder to move it against gravity. An example of that would be doing a normal push-up here. Okay, here's the head and legs and arms. I'm such a good artist, right?
Yeah, like me.
There we go. On the ground, okay? This would be step 1. Step 2, right, or progression 1 would be to take the feet and to elevate the feet and place it up on something so the body has to fight against gravity to a greater degree. Okay, that's an example of how to manipulate your body position to use gravity as resistance. Okay. Another example would be to use the term I used earlier, which was external load. Okay, all that means is weights, rubber bands, kettlebells, barbells, free weights, whatever. Okay, you would increase the amount of weight or tension or whatever so that you're only able to achieve this amount of repetitions, and you would progressively, okay, or linearly challenge your muscles through various intensities over the course of a 4-week period. What's important to notice here is this. After you've done 3 weeks of training, depending on your maturity, you may need to take a whole week off and completely let your muscles relax. Here's the thing, a lot of people freak out in our culture, especially the male. They believe that if they take 1 week off, they're weaker. Okay, that's not true. Your tissue will actually come back in a state that is ready to endure a greater amount of stress and thus produce even more amounts of effort and enhance your strength and decrease your risk for injury. That kind of thing. Go ahead, Doc.
Last year, 2021, I had 23 bad back injuries from people trying to progress this way by just a deadlift exercise, which is basically taking a bar or weight and coming down and coming back up, because they thought they were in their pre-COVID brain of I did this 6 months ago, I can go back right at it. So they went through this, and it's funny now, went through this program, but they didn't take that break. They didn't do it slowly. They wanted to get back to their, say, if they're deadlifting, say, pre-COVID, 200 pounds, we want to get back there within week 2 or week 3. They didn't give themselves a chance to progress. What happened? They hurt their back. They pulled a hamstring. They pulled a hip. So you got to give yourself time. And what I'm getting through is give yourself time to follow a program. So at that point, your body builds strength slowly. So we talked about before, you don't hurt yourself. 23 injuries. I've never had that part of my life. Been in practice for 1,000 years, I think. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure. But going through this where, it's not like, well, push-up for me would be going on a bar, for example, at an angle, even on a counter, and doing counter push-ups that way.
Oh, yeah.
And then going, for example, on the floor on your knees, doing push-ups that way. Then going to a straight push-up. Then if you want to, add a weight on your back with a push-up. Or going to a bench press. And doing something like that.
Yeah, that's great.
Modifications are part of it.
Doc just explained linear. He just used different examples than I did. You know, it's all good, right? And that's all individual. I'm sure you guys saw me write this is my business cell number right here.
Good.
The reason I'm writing this up here is because this is a lot of information today, and it also included quite a bit of like exercise science stuff, especially pertaining to percentages and reps and stuff like this. So a lot of times clients, they're confused on how to apply this to themselves individually. They get this on a surface level, but then when they try to apply it to themselves, they don't quite get how to go through more than maybe like a week or two, and then they get confused. And typically when they do that, they hurt themselves, right? So don't do that. If you have a question, you can text message me here. Or you can go to my Facebook, which is Life Performance Enhancement, or you can
have it on the post.
Okay, Doc will have it on there. Again, my name is Derek Wohlers, right? And the name of my business is Life Performance Enhancement, fitness, sports performance, and rehabilitation. So you know, I'm all over the internet. You can obviously check me out right there. My website's currently going under some construction, so you can't go to my actual site. But if you Google my name, you know, a lot of stuff will pop up there on myself.
He's famous.
So. Anyways, you know, here you guys go. I hope you can really take this, and just to recap, be as detailed as you possibly can. Anytime you're trying to set a goal, it's really important to identify, and by detail I mean what is your primary source. After you have identified the source, use the source to then evaluate and take an inventory of what is being propelled within you in regards to your heart, mind, body, and spirit, and what are you being propelled to do in your heart, mind, body, and spirit. If you take the time, I know it's consuming, but if you take the time to really focus on your heart, your mind, and regardless of if you're here or not, and not just focus on your body, what you will do with your body is greater when these two things are involved, 100%. Okay?
Good.
So thank you so much, you know, Doc, as always, for being here, man. Appreciate it.
And one thing to add is
when you don't have this, I call it your why, of why you're doing this and why your purpose is. When you start reaching this week 3, week 4, you're like, man, this is a lot of work. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
This is like, I'm too sore. Maybe I hurt myself. These are people starting, for example, at a gym, a big box gym, say in January 1st, and they're done by February 1st.
Yeah.
When you don't have a plan. So if you're looking to go, I want to get stronger, I want to lose weight, you start something, it's going to be uncomfortable, you're going to be sore, you're going to be grouchy, you're not going to be yourself. But your body adapts to week 2, week 3, and where your body actually physiological changes over a period of 2 to 3 months. If you heard me right, 2 to 3 months to your body physiological change to a better state so it can stay there. Like I said, by taking a week off and giving yourself that break, you're still going to maintain the strength, but you're not going to rush it. Give yourself time to change your body, then it can change and stay that way.
Yeah, I want to add one more thing. And like I mentioned earlier, why I chose to state this, like Doc says the why, and I think that's
everyone's different.
It's cool. Why I wanted to go as deep as I could for you guys, because this is how I interact with the client. What is being propelled within your heart? Because here's why. Oftentimes people come in, let's say we use the example of man or woman, okay, and they want to look better in their bathing suit for summer, or they want their body to look a certain way in this dress or in this suit or whatever. Okay, their primary source for motivation usually is what other people see in them. Okay, now we all have a self-image that we like to project to other people, okay? But this is why I ask them to take an inventory or evaluate what is going on in their heart and their mind, okay? Like, what is being propelled, what is going on inside of your heart, and what are you being propelled to do? If this is to please other people, okay, or this is because you're concerned of what someone else will say to someone else about you as far as how you're looking, your physical appearance, when things get tough, or like, you know, to put it in the vernacular, when shit hits the fan in your motivation, you're not going to want to continue because it's not affecting you enough here. Your source of motivation in your heart is not propelling you to do what you want to do in your body, because your mind and your heart, either your mind's not fueling it or your heart's not fueling it. Yeah. So this is when you have to go inside of yourself more so, because the reason that people seek me out a lot of times is because they got this far, but they want to get here, and they can't figure out how to go from here to there. And that's what I do, and that's what Doc does for the skeleton. And this is what I do for people, whether it's their aesthetic appearance, how fast to throw a baseball, fix their knee, gets whatever, man. This is the deal. But in order to get from where you keep stopping to where you want to go, usually it's because this thing right here or this thing right here, the thoughts they're having or the motivation that propels this, the motivation that propels that, that's why I use that word, is not enough or it's not correct. And they have to go deeper in order to go there, or they will not go there. Yeah. And that's, that's why they come in, and that's kind of, it's one of the things I like most about the job. Helping people identify that. That's why I use the word evaluate or inventory. You have to know, you have to figure it out. You can't just wake up and go to the gym every day and try real hard. It doesn't. Yeah. It will only take you for so long.
You'll get to a certain point and go, okay, now I've hit a wall. Yeah. And then you start doing different things that can cause an injury. Mm-hmm. And you start doing things that are going to make, now you get more frustrated, you just say, I'm done.
Right. Frustration and worry. Mm-hmm. Frustration and worry, they slow you down. You try to, when you get worried or frustrated, you try to go faster. That's when you need to be patient and learn and figure out the solution instead of just go, Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Doc. Appreciate that.
Derek, thanks again for episode 2. What's the, I guess, the cure for episode 3? What's going on with episode 3?
Well, I like to go in, let me see, I made some notes here of what I wanted to talk about.
Very detailed guy.
So let's see.
Something in his head already planned or something into.
Okay, so next time I wanted to discuss how to identify. So I said you need to take an inventory of what's propelling within you and all this stuff. Like I said 100 times. I want to give you guys methods that I use with people to identify and distinguish. Okay, the difference between each one of these.
Good.
Okay, that's good, because in order to figure it out, what is being propelled. Some people are like, I can't tell if it's if it's in my mind or if it's in my heart. What's propelling me? I can't tell the difference. Okay, there is a way, in my opinion, to figure out what is being stemmed per se from the mind or propelled from the mind, and what is being propelled from the heart. And then, I will talk about this briefly, and I know everybody has their own opinion on that. Okay.
And what Derek's going through is it's all connected, but once you have one area not working properly, and now your success rate becomes lower and lower and lower. So how do you make sure you figure it all 4 out for you? At that point, your body can actually get there and stay there. That's the plan.
Yeah, and that's why chiropractics and physical activity, it's why I like doing this with Doc, because they all go together. If your skeleton's not aligned, then your nervous system doesn't send signals as well. Right, Doc? You're the pro there. That's right. So then it affects everything, especially strength, because I gave the example of those, which leads to this, okay? The next thing is I want to discuss next time the factors that influence your strength capabilities. Now, I talked about those this time. Yeah. Those being movement quality. But I'm going to talk about those in greater detail. So we're going to take the foundation and we're going to build the next layer within it. I don't know. We'll start putting bricks down. Yeah. Right. So we just put the dirt down. And we tamped the dirt today. Then we're going to start putting the pavers on top of the dirt. Okay, or cement. I don't know how to build. I don't know how. I should know that.
We're not experts. We're specialists, my friends.
So we'll start talking about that. What those bricks are is how to differentiate between the 4 of these. Good. Okay, so you can go into even greater detail in your goal scenario, and then what affects your strength capabilities. Because like, oh, you know what? My knees have hurt my whole life, or like, culturally, women, I want my glutes, my rear end to look like this, right? Or men are like, I always wanted to bench press, but I always had shoulder pain. Yeah. That kind of thing. Or I want to do 1 pull-up, man or woman, okay? And I'll tell you the factors that are affecting that, just the factors, and then I'll give you a solution on a mathematical kind of science level here that you can use to then apply it all together like that. So it'll be cool. Yeah, I'll get it all lined up and give Doc the details, and then he can shoot it out there.
And the thing is, once you get this down to what Derek's trying to help us understand, then your workouts, then your life can get easier. It won't be, I'm guessing at everything. I'm not going to guess. I have a system that I can use to break everything down and build it up over time. So. Yeah. Derek, thank you again.
Thanks, Doc. Always love being here. Real pleasure. Good. So, thanks for having me in your office today.
January 2022. At that point, we'll add this. Will probably be next month's podcast. From there, we're going to add it in. So we're trying to have his show post as a podcast, plus the live, plus you do everything else too. And then from there, have the next show come on right away. So trying to get it planned out right. All right. Thank you guys for watching.
See you guys. Thanks.
Yeah. Easy stuff as always.